It's time for Kids Corner. I want you to know I'm a mom of 3 kids, and they're now in college, but I remember so many evenings reading stories together, and I miss those times. So I'm so glad to be sharing a story that I love with you today. This book, Holy Troublemakers and Unconventional Saints, is a book I read before during a sermon last July. And it's written by a friend of mine, pictured here, named Deneen. And she's a mom of 2 girls herself. She's writing about a friend of hers named Brian McLaren, who's in the next picture, a time when he was a little bit younger than me and a little bit older than some of you. And that's where our story begins. So let's read together. On a hot summer night in 1972 in Lexington, Kentucky, a small group of teenagers walk stealthily in the dark, having just snuck out of their cabins at church camp. The thrill of adventure energizes them as they hike up a small hillside at the far end of the camp. A nervous laugh escapes from one of them, breaking the silence. "Shh," a voice from the back whispers. "We'll be in a ton of trouble if we get caught." They keep walking, trying to avoid the rocks and twigs on the path with just the light of the moon to guide them. One of these teenagers is 17-year-old Brian McLaren. He's grown up going to lots of church events with his family. He hasn't told anyone, but he's planning to leave church, faith, and almost everything to do with God when he goes away to school in a year. His church teaches that science is not valid, that women can't be leaders, and that it's wrong to ask questions about anything that the church teaches. He's different. He's curious, he loves science, and he doesn't believe men are any better at leadership or anything else than women. He can't wait to get out of church. As they reach the top of the hillside, he walks a few feet away from the group and lies down on his back in the grass. He gazes up at the moon and stars and just breathes. Suddenly, Brian notices how small he feels under the big sky. The universe above him goes on and on with its burning stars, distant planets, moons, and galaxies. I am just one small human with millions and billions of other humans spinning on this planet in this huge universe, he thinks to himself. It's a new thought for him, a revelation. A moment later, he feels something else, or someone else. I felt seen and known and loved, Brian says now, remembering that night. I felt an outpouring of love that completely covered me, and it wasn't just for me. It was an outpouring of love for the grass in the field next to me, for everything. All of creation was loved. I experienced God as love that night. So I know that story isn't about prayer exactly. And Pastor Brandon has been sharing with us the last couple of weeks about the words that Jesus says and how important they are to us. Last week was about Jesus' prayer before he went back to heaven. And this week we're talking about praying for each other. Our words matter. The grown-ups in Brian's life didn't represent God in a way that he could relate to God. But God spoke to him that night on the hill. And that's part of prayer. Prayer is simply a two-way conversation between you and God. You might be praying by yourself, like this little boy or this little girl, or with a group of friends, like before COVID hit or later on, but with your families now. And you might have your eyes closed, or you might be lying on the grass on a hill somewhere like Brian. Prayer is something where we can hear what God desires for us. And it's kind of hard to sit still in the silence, but he can do that. He can let us know that he loves us. And we can pray for each other in a way that shows that we love each other too. And use words that are kind and loving and affirming. I love this next picture of this little girl. And the words next to her are special to me. When my arms can't reach people close to my heart, I always hug them with my prayers. So that's how you can serve one another, how you can love one another with your words when you pray on behalf of them to God. And you might even change your mind about someone that you don't like or that you don't understand by praying for them because you love them. Thanks for listening to me this morning. Thanks for being a part of our church. You're important to God, and I hope that you can show someone else that they are important to you. Bye.